Welcome to Bali, here in Indonesia. As you might know, this is a very popular place for yoga lovers and lovers of, let's say, related traditions. And in the last few days, people have been celebrating the goddess Durga. And right now, I am in a very beautiful temple, not far from Ubud, that is dedicated to Durga. The history of this temple goes as back as 800 years. It's a wonderful temple. From the outside, from, let's say, the road, it doesn't actually give the idea of its beauty. Inside, it actually seems pretty small. But then when you actually step inside, it's wonderful. And from this very temple, I want to share with you a story. Mosquito. It's a tale, it's a legend of the Balinese tradition that begins in this temple. But before I start with the story, I want to say, a few days ago, recently, I was reading an article online on the internet that said, what are the let's say, most wanted tourist destinations for after the pandemic. Number 1, Bali. Number 2, Thailand. Number 3 was something like Mexico, now I don't remember. And number 4 was Indonesia. Wait a second. Number 1 is Bali and number 4 is Indonesia? Like, are we in a different country or, you know? And I don't know if it was written on purpose, but if it was written on purpose, I could understand somehow why. Because Bali is unique, yeah, somehow. Especially for foreigners, because every place in Indonesia is so different from others and they're so unique in their own ways. And Bali, for sure, is a paradise for surfers, is a paradise for yoga lovers, is a paradise for let's say, vegan food and lovers. It's a paradise for digital nomads, yeah, and many other things. So it is a very unique place. It is a very unique place. But historically and culturally speaking, we cannot really separate Bali from the rest of Indonesia. And from the development of the Indonesian history and culture. Having said that, this story begins somewhere about between the 13th and the 14th century, when the Majapahit kingdom in Indonesia was expanding to many places and to Bali as well. And the main character of this story is the man who became let's say, how to say, a Luke Skywalker of the situation. So he was like the resistance against this Majapahit invasion. And actually, the story, way before, begins with the parents of this hero. These parents were known as Bekung, which literally stands for childless. They were a couple who could not have children. They were trying. They were not able to have a child. And one day, they come to this temple. And they sort of meditate and pray with the intent of asking to the goddess for a child, for a baby. And during the night, the goddess Durga appears in front of them. And here is the goddess Durga, actually. There. And she asked them, "Why are you disturbing me with such noisy prayers at night?" And they say, "Well, you know, we can't have a child. We would like to ask for a child." She's like, "Well, okay, it's your lucky day. I can give you a child, and I can give you like a cool child, you know, just tell me what kind of child you want." And they say, "Well, we would like a child who, when he's gonna grow up, he'll be a hero, a warrior who will be able to carry on his shoulders the entire fame and glory of the whole island of Bali." And Durga works her magic. And after a short while, you can already clearly see that Manbekung, the mother, was pregnant. Manbekung was the mother, and Panbekung was the father. And then she gives birth. But this baby was no normal baby. It was a magical baby. And a normal blade was not enough to cut the umbilical cord of the baby, so they had to use the magical teeth of a Balinese dragon to cut the umbilical cord. And then the baby sort of, you know, was already bigger than average. And as he grows bigger and older, he starts to eat more and more and more and more. And his parents, they were farmers. And eventually, they finish all of their rice, all of their food, all of their wealth to feed their child. And all the villagers then started to help them to give food to him. And he became known, this guy, he became known as Kebo Iwa. You ask around Bali, every Balinese person about Kebo Iwa, everyone knows about him. He's a very popular hero in the Balinese tales. And then, you know, his parents eventually kick him out, and they're like, "Okay, you know, go do your own things." And Kebo Iwa starts roaming around Bali, around the villages, and in exchange for food, and he would eat as much as 100 warriors. In exchange for food, he would work for the villagers. But because he was no normal man, he didn't do normal jobs and perform normal tasks. But because he had and possessed, let's say, all these magical abilities, he would use his magic fingers and nails to help villagers carve shrines and carve temples and caves, riverbeds, dig wells. And Kebo Iwa ultimately ended up carving what Bali is so much known for. He ended up carving the beauty of Bali. I find this story really fascinating, really fascinating. And then you know, as a foreigner, you ask all tourists that come here, Bali is such a beautiful place. And he was the guy who carved this beauty. And actually, the creation of many places here in Bali is attributed to him. Just to give you a few examples, the entire sort of isthmus of Jimbaran down south is attributed to Kebo Iwa, as well as in the entire area of Nusa Dua also Kebo Iwa. Both Lake and Mount Batur were also created by Kebo Iwa. And then smaller things, for example, the Gunung Kawi shrines, not far also from here, from Ubud, and many other things. Some of the creations of Kebo Iwa I want to show to you, but in the next video. Today, now I want to go in a place that's 3 minutes away from here and show you what Kebo Iwa looked like. Here in Balabatu, where Kebo Iwa was born, we can find this beautiful statue of him. And each legend has different variations, has different interpretations, but each legend has also a part of truth. And some people believe that Kebo Iwa was an actual man, an actual person, a hero who acquired magical powers through very hard training. And some other people believe that Kebo Iwa was a giant. And here I am in one of the central and most important temples of Balabatu, the Pura Kebo Iwa. As you might understand by the name, it is a temple dedicated to Kebo Iwa. Now, I only introduced you to the first part of Kebo Iwa's life, a short history, but of course, there are so many more stories and legends about Kebo Iwa, his life, his deeds, his death. And what is interesting about this temple is that we can see here Kebo Iwa's petrified head. I will show it to you now. I will show you a little bit around the temple. I hope you enjoyed this little story.